Hey, Jonathan Green back with Express Success number 8, the repair costs. So this one's obviously really important. Like I was saying before, if you have never dealt with repair costs, it's really important that you get to understand this, especially if your buy box for a fix and flip includes ARV at 70% minus repair costs. Because if you don't know the repair costs, you can go really, really wrong in this area. And it's really hard to get to know it. I've been doing it for 30 years and I still get things wrong. So you have to just kind of hedge your bets in the closest way that you're going to be close and not overdo it, and definitely don't underdo it either. Remember, you can't cater everything just to make the buybacks fit, because that eventually will make the iBuyer unhappy when they tell you stuffed it in there and then the metrics were wrong. So for repair costs, it's really important. I have one of my spreadsheets actually open now. So I'm just going to run through a bunch of things that you need to look for in the house. I probably will be doing an on-site video in the future from what I call a dirt house, which is real disaster, an REO or something like that. That's not in good shape. We'll just kind of give a walkthrough things that you need to look for. But you really want to assess all of the major repairs, and then cosmetically you can figure out how much things cost a little bit easier over time. But you have to get a handle on what major things cost in your area, because it's not the same. Like, you want to know how much it costs to replace a hot water heater, to replace a furnace, how much if you need all new doors or all new windows. It's going to be different in each area. You're going to need to kind of do the research on those, walk a ton of properties that need repair, and try to figure it out. Obviously, the more you work with investors, the more activity you have in these areas. So I'm going to give you a list of things to look for. But the way I do it is the second that I go in the door, I'm looking for everything that's wrong. And actually, I do it before I go in the door, because I'm looking at the exterior. I'm looking for foundation cracks on the outside, which, to be honest, normally are not indicative of that much. They just look bad, but they could be when you get to the basement, if there is a basement. On the outside, if there's steps, you want to make sure that the steps are in good shape, because a stair repair, or even a wood stair repair, is going to cost you. Stairs can be a little more tricky depending on how they're laid out. And it can be just a sunk cost that you don't know about if you're not sure how to evaluate it. So you're looking at everything from the front. If your house is completely kind of dilapidated in the front, you're going to have to think full exterior paint. You may need new shutters. Windows are going to be a big deal, and windows are not cheap. So that's something you need to consider. And you have to think of who the end buyer is for the iBuyer. You know, is it a brand new up and coming community where you think that these are going to be first time buyers who can qualify high but are really going to expect a perfectly flipped product, which, you know, exists or doesn't exist depending on how you feel about flips. But, you know, you're thinking of who the end buyer is in every area, and that's kind of what dictates how the iBuyer will renovate. If you're going for high end, you're going to have more high end finishes. You know, if you're renovating for a rental, you're definitely going to go lower end, because it's going to take wear and tear, and a lot of stuff you're going to have to replace anyway. So I'm going to give you a rundown of a lot of things that you need to think about that could be repairs. And honestly, these are things you're going to look for when you're with regular buyers too, because they're things that are going to come up on inspections. If you don't have a ton of experience showing homes, this may give you a little insight into that. So first is demolition. Anytime you're going to move a wall, that's a demo. And when you're moving a wall, you have to make sure that there's still support there. So, I mean, I can't really give you prices because they're going to be different for everybody, but demo is not super expensive. And a lot of times it can be worked into the contractor's overall price if you're running a bigger job. But that means removing old cabinets, getting the dumpster, tossing everything in the dumpster, removing old carpet, old floors, taking out old toilets, anything, demolishing, you know, demo of old bathtubs that you can't remove. Any of that stuff is all demo. Cracking walls is obviously the main thing. It's the main thing that a lot of iBuyers, at least me as a flipper, it's what I look for. Is I always looking for the first wall that I can knock out that will increase the flow of the house. But obviously I'm making sure that there's support there for the walls, and that it's not a load-bearing wall, or else I need to drop a beam in there. Sewer line in my area, sewer lines are really old. That's not something that you're going to know, actually. when you're doing these iBuyer appointments, because you're not going to spend whatever. In my area it's $250 to put a camera down the sewer. You're not going to do that. So you're just going to ask the question of the seller, have you had any sewer issues? Have you ever had a backup in the sewer? Um, uh, Completely corrupted sewer line, old clay pipes, that in my area will run about 15 grand. So it's a big deal. I don't think most iBuyers would expect you to know if there's a sewer problem other than there's excess coming in the basement. So AC are you going to put in central air? That's going to be big. Are you going to adjust the heating system? Do you have oil heat? Are you expecting for them to need to convert over to gas? In places where you have oil tanks, is the tank above ground, underground? What are you looking at in terms of removal? Do you have any idea if there's any potential contamination in the past? Floors, if you have all carpet, you're going to need to know what the replacement cost is and what you're going to do. For some places, sure, maybe you leave carpet. For some places, you're going to do new high-grade waterproof laminate. And in some, you're going to drop in some nice wood floors. But these are all costs that you need to know. Those are valued by the square foot. And that's what you're going to need to adjust for, how many square feet you might need and what the changeover will be. Obviously, you don't have a calculator in your head. You're going to get to the point where you're just ballparking everything based on your experience. So you know, if I'm going to do this size of a room, you just start throwing out numbers, and that's eventually where you want to get to. Bathrooms and kitchens, that's always a big deal. That's where the big money is made. You're never going to lose money by renovating a bathroom or a kitchen nicely. But depending on where you are, you can definitely overdo it. So you're going to come in light on some of those to figure out what they could do. And again, they could succeed more in the end by doing those. Do you need new appliances? A lot of times you'll need an entire new set of appliances if you're looking to flip. Kitchen cabinets. There are a lot of ways that you can maintain the kitchen cabinets and either strip them, restain them. So you, if would like to reuse the cabinets if possible, but again, you're not making the decision for the iBuyer. So you're probably going to maybe slot that in an option. If you keep these cabinets, I think you can, and refinish them. That will cost you whatever, $800. And if you replace them all, it's going to cost you $2,400. So these are the numbers that you have to start getting into and understanding. Your general plumbing, are you moving any plumbing? Are you trying to put in an extra half bath? There are certain costs associated with that. If you're putting in a new half bath, it's preferable if you're close to another plumbing line. So if you're going back to back, that's always great. If you're going on another floor, if there's plumbing right below, that's great. Super helpful that it's closer. The farther away you are from existing plumbing, the more expensive your new bathroom is going to be. Electrical. If you have an old electrical box, especially in my area, Pacific Standard, that's going to get, those are fire hazards. There's probably one of those kinds everywhere. That's going to need to be replaced. So electric, I'm finding out lately, is really more expensive than I thought. So you have to check in areas where you have super old houses. You're going to be looking for knob and tube wiring in the basement. And if your knob and tube wiring is throughout the whole house still, there's ways to tell. You can definitely look that up on the internet. But that's a big repair. Again, in my area, that's going to run you on a regular size house close to 10 grand. So these are things, if you spot knob and tube wiring, if you spot asbestos all over the basement, these are things that you want to alert the iBuyer to and start to consider in your repair costs. So you want to know all the remedies for all of these things, the anomalies in the house. Fences, do you need to take one down? Do you need to put one up for privacy? Beams, are you removing walls where you're going to need to drop a beam in to support the upstairs? Or do you need beams in the basement because there's a foundation issue? For that, you're going to want to get a structural engineer if you have any foundation issues in the basement. Don't try to just trust a contractor on that. Painting is a big deal. When you're doing flips, you're usually going to want to do a full paint job outside and inside. You want to avoid outside if you can. Hopefully it's in good enough shape. But if you're dealing with a real distress, you're going to be going full outside paint job, full inside paint job. And besides making all the choices on colors, it's just a lot of labor on these repair costs. So painting is a big deal. You can't really get away with doing a flip and not painting everything. You can't miss the closets. That really annoys me when I see a property, it's all looks great, and you open a closet and it's some shade of ecru in there from 1972. not for me. Countertops in the kitchen, new vanities in the bathroom. Countertops are really important, especially on a changeover for a flip. You're usually going to upgrade the countertops. It makes magic happen in the kitchen. And your countertop choice is obviously going to pair with the cabinets when you're a flipper. But when you're doing repair costs for an iBuyer, you're just trying to get general baseline prices for kind of mid-range, what the estimate's going to be for those. Roof is a big deal. Roof everywhere is going to cost you a lot. Obviously, asphalt shingle or flat roofs are not that expensive. Asphalt shingle, not super expensive, depending how big the house is. But yeah, if you're in a Mediterranean style house and you have nice kind of shaker tiles on the roof, that's a really big job. So you need to evaluate the roof, see if there's any roof leaks. That's where you're going to get your repair estimates. If you can't see up and there is access to the attic, you want to get in the attic to see if there's any signs of leakage. That will tell you that there is a roof issue. Fireplace, does a fireplace in a lot of areas needs work? In my area, most of the fireplaces are as is, just because the chimney companies always recommend that you need a new liner no matter what. But that can be a big cost around here, run you a couple grand. So that's something you need to account for. And then your general contractor costs, which are all the labor, doors, anything that needs to go on, adjustments, and that's your general repair budget. That's how you figure out your repair costs. I can't tell you what everything costs. I gave you some examples of what they do in my market, but you basically just want to be walking through the house, looking for things that are wrong, and then figuring out how much it's going to cost to fix. That's how you give a repair estimate, and that's how you end up finishing your formula for the for the iBuyer, which is a lot of times you'll see 70% of ARV minus repairs. And I've told you before, that's a really hard number to hit, especially in hot markets. It's not going to happen. So when you see a buy box that doesn't have a repair estimate and it just says 80% of ARV, those are nice ones to submit to, like I said in the buy box one. Hopefully that got a bunch of things that you may have to think about when you're looking through a house. Really, you should just be going through every room and looking for things that are broken or that need repair. And over time, you will soon figure out how much it all costs, and then you'll be quicker. I never, ever advise on trying to do it by square footage or by the room. That will get you in trouble with an iBuyer. You have to be looking for the things that other people aren't going to notice or can't put into some easy formula to create. That's how you'll save the iBuyer money, because sometimes you'll see something that looks bad. You may be able to know something about it. When companies used to take care of knob and tube wiring, the old electrical wiring, sometimes they completed the whole house, but they still left a couple in the basement. So if you don't know, you may think that the whole house has knob and tube. You send them 10,000 repair costs, but if you know what it looks like, then there's only one left. Your repair costs are going to be significantly different. That's a $10,000 difference right there, at least in my market. All right, that was it. That was number 8, the repair costs. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Next time, number 9, rental estimates. That is for buy and holds. And then 10, the scripts. Thanks for watching.